Last week, some constituents from Clarkston drove to Olympia to testify on your bill that would address treatment and release policies for sexually violent predators. Can you tell me more about that?
Yes, House Bill 1059 puts some additional parameters on the consideration of release of sexually violent predators from McNeil Island. As you know, the worst of the worst are held at McNeil Island, and it's of great concern especially to our constituents, Wes and Sharon Kleiser, whose daughter was a victim of one of the sexually violent predators. And they felt when his release was considered that there wasn't enough information, current information, being presented to the judge when he had to consider that release. So their testimony was emotional, it was poignant, and it certainly drove home the need for judges to have additional information about the worst of these sexually violent predators before they're released in society. It's really about community safety, it's about personal safety, and I really admire our constituents who it was a struggle to tell the story, but they did it, and I want to give certainly a shout out to the chairman of the committee, Roger Goodman, because he offered them all the time they needed to present their concerns.
There's a bill before the House that would change the law that gives the University of Washington the exclusive right to a medical school. What are your thoughts on these proposals?
Well, first of all, we have to find a way to address the doctor shortage throughout Washington, and especially in rural areas. And the existing law only allows one university in the state to have a medical school. So the bill then would allow Washington State University, if it were so inclined and if funding was available, to establish a medical school in Spokane. And that would certainly bring medical students closer to rural eastern Washington. And they have a model that they're proposing to use community clinics and hospitals in rural areas as their training ground. So it would certainly be an opportunity to expose more medical students to the important need for getting docs out in rural areas, and many of them find it very rewarding. And once they do their training there, many of them end up practicing in those rural areas. So I do support that bill.
The first month of the legislative session is coming to a close. What can folks back home look forward to hearing about in the coming months from Olympia?
Well, of course, I think folks at home are getting tired of hearing about McCleary and let's get this done kind of thing, because the Supreme Court has told us we need to get it done. So there will be a lot of discussion about that, and as it's folded into the biennial budget that we're writing. But I do want to remind our constituents that we've been working on McCleary and funding McCleary and building a very strong case on all the issues that the McCleary decision has said we must address. So I'm feeling good about the work we've done, and we'll get that work done in this legislative session.